Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Ron, and today the new Killing Floor 2 beta just came out for the summer slideshow. So they've made some more changes to this. I played it for a little while. I have footage of that running in the background. Mostly just going over what they changed, or at least all that I could, because the weekly scavenger was not up for me. There was a minor change in that, and I'll be going through all of this and telling you my thoughts on each of these. So first up, let's talk about the perk balancing. The only perk that got rebalanced, at least in this beta update, was Berserker's parry. They nerfed Berserker's parry in the last update. That made it so it was only a 6-second duration instead of a 10-second duration, and that you no longer had the damage reduction, which I believe was 40%. They had dropped it down to 25%. That has been now changed to where the duration is no longer 6 seconds, it's 8 seconds, which makes parry feel much better. It feels pretty much the same duration length as the previous parry. I don't notice much of a difference there, and they upped its damage resistance a little bit from 25% to 30%. I think that's a good change for parry. I don't really care about the damage reduction all that much from parry. It is kind of nice that it has it, but the duration of 6 seconds was just a pain. 6 seconds, you block once, you do like one combo, and then you have to parry again. That was a bit annoying. You should at least be able to get 2 combos up before you have to parry again. That way you can fight larger enemies easier with it. And I think changing to this is a better choice. All of the other changes that they made to Berserker stay the same, at least for this beta update. Again, this isn't live, this is just the beta update. So when it does go live, I'll be making another video about this, talking about all the changes that they put on the live servers. So be on the lookout for that once the summer slideshow officially comes out. As for weeklies, like I said, they did change scavenger slightly, and I didn't get to play that. They pretty much just made the weapons lifetime, so if you drop a weapon, it would last longer, or if the weapons were dropped on the map, I believe they last longer than what they normally would before they cycle. So 20 seconds rather than the previous 10 seconds. You probably won't really notice much of a difference with this with scavenger. I mean, I was picking up guns, firing them out, and then just chucking them aside to pick up more guns when I played through it, so I didn't really have a problem finding more weapons. Maybe you will if you're playing this in multiplayer, but in solo, should have no issues. They have changed 3 of the 4 new weapons. The only new weapon that they didn't touch was the HRG Bastion, so still a really good weapon for SWAT. So the weapons that they did change were the HRG Blast Brawlers. This was supports shotgun fists that were made of the Static Strikers, and when I made my first impressions video of this, I said that they were quite weak. And they still kind of are even after these changes. So the damage has been increased from a base 36 damage to 39 damage per pellet, which is nice. Now the shotgun gauntlets actually have penetration. So before they didn't have any additional penetration, it would have just all came from your passive. Now you have 2 penetration rather than 0, so that's pretty good. Your ammo pool has now been increased from 36 to 40, so you get more ammunition with them. Your spread pattern has now worsened for some reason. I'm not sure why they chose to do that, but now you have an increase in spread by 20%. And the block damage mitigation has now been decreased as well. So you no longer have 60% block damage reduction, you have 50%. These are very weird choices. Slight damage buff, slight penetration buff, and slight ammo pool buff, but nerfing spread and nerfing damage mitigation on weapons that I already said weren't very good in the first place, and I still kind of stand by that. They're still not going to be a good weapon for support. They're too heavy, they're too expensive, and they don't do a very good job at killing anything. Yeah, they can work because they're shotgun level damage, same as a lot of other support weapons. That doesn't necessarily make them good or meta for support. The one role that these have is that they can block and parry, whereas most other classes can't do that. If you already have the DLC of the Frostfang though, or you have access to the Frostfang thanks to friends that you play with, this weapon is completely useless still. Weighing 9 and going up to 10 is not good, even on support. Yes, you can take whatever other weapon you want with support because you're playing support, but it does limit you on what you can take. If you want a block and parry weapon, the Frostfang is better for you if you want to take that. Even if you're not planning on doing that and you just want a weapon to block and parry with, the Hemoclobber is still way better than this. It weighs less, it costs less, and it actually has a secondary use. Take that if you want to take a melee weapon to block with that's not your knife or not the Frostfang, assuming you don't have access to it. So the HRG Blast Brawlers still probably supports weakest weapon, besides maybe dual buckshots, but even dual buckshots way less than this. And dual buckshots, you can at least buy one of them for significantly less. So yeah, this is probably support's worst weapon still. They did change the thermite bore. I didn't play the thermite bore though. This is Firebug's new DLC weapon. And the only thing that they really did was change the iron sights a little bit, so you should have it more easily aimed center when you aim it. I didn't really notice it because I hardly was using the iron sights for this. And the ground fires have now been reduced in duration. They no longer last for 10 seconds, they last for 7 seconds. This realistically shouldn't affect Firebug whatsoever. Yeah, additional 3 seconds might make it so you kill 1 or 2 crawlers from the ground fire a little bit faster or a little bit more consistently. But just put these in doorways, put them in choke points, any place where enemies are going to come through, and you're still going to kill them all the same. The thermite bore is still going to be one of the better weapons that they added. And then the last weapon that they changed was the FAMAS Master Key, which this was another weapon that I was rather disappointed in, and I said that in my last video. So what they've done is increase the magazine size of the FAMAS, so it no longer holds 24 rounds, it holds 30 rounds. That's a good step in the right direction because the FAMAS did run through bullets very quickly. Your secondary fire with the shotgun now does more damage. You're not doing 25 damage a pellet, you're doing 30, which is a pretty good increase. They've also increased the pellet count by 1, so you're no longer shooting at 6 pellets, you're shooting at 7. So baseline, it should be doing 210 damage, assuming you hit with all the pellets. The penetration with the shotgun has been increased, so you can punch through more enemies with it. Very good choice. And the spread of the Master Key has been reduced by 17%. Making it have a tighter spread. Now, these are all improvements to the FAMAS. Now, is the FAMAS good now? Is it a competitive tier 3 weapon? I would still say no, it's not. Pretty much all of Commando's other tier 3 weapons are still going to be better choices than the FAMAS for the majority of jobs. The FAMAS is going to be a quirky, like, third option really, because the FAMAS does not compete against the AK and it does not compete against the M16 that are tier 3 weapons already. Both of them beat the FAMAS easily. The AK just because it has higher raw damage and higher DPS. The M16 because it has a much more consistent pattern. The grenade launcher allows you to fight off large Zeds and crowds very easily. And then the MKB-42 just does more raw damage than the FAMAS and is just a more flexible weapon overall. So it doesn't really compete with any of the tier 3 weapons right now. It still has the ACOG sight on it, which I already said that I didn't like. I doubt they're going to take that off because they've already made the model of the weapon and I don't think they can rework it so quickly. So we're going to probably be stuck with the ACOG, which is a downside. The FAMAS is still 3-round burst only. Yes, it is easy to control, and yes, you can do a lot of DPS with it, but if you want a 3-round burst gun, you're just going to take the AK. It's the same weight, but more DPS. And then the Master Key upgrades, yeah, you get more damage and you have reduced spread. It still has one of the worst spread patterns out of the shotguns. It still has a very low rate of fire, and it still has the same problem of just being attached to the FAMAS, where since the FAMAS is 3-round burst with a high accurate, real high rate of fire burst, you're still probably going to go with more ammo for the FAMAS just because it's more convenient to be spraying the burst for longer on enemies. But if you do that, then you're reducing your damage with the shotgun, because who cares if you hold, 15 shots in your shotgun? You're still probably not going to use it, so it would make more sense to go with damage for the shotgun. But if you go with damage, then the FAMAS kind of suffers. It's a very strange weapon that doesn't really fit with Commando all that well, and I still don't think it's going to be one of their better weapons. I think it's actually one of their weaker weapons right now. Not as bad as probably the Bullpup or the AR-15, but it feels just like an upgraded AR-15, which is what really nobody wanted. They did try to change more of the bugs in Moonbase, but it's still kind of buggy, it's still weird. You can still get caught on strange angles, you can get pushed into areas where you can't just get out of easily. Certain structures that you should be able to jump on top of still have invisible walls and stuff on top of them. It's still a rather buggy map. It's not a bad map by any means, but it still needs a lot of work to be functioning correctly. So I think that's all the changes that they made in this last Killing Floor beta. I hope they change more stuff. I kind of hope that the FAMAS gets buffed even more in some way that makes sense. Either make the shotgun way more damaging with way less shots, or make it semi-auto, full auto, do something like that. I'd ideally take the ACOG off the FAMAS, give it something like a red dot or something like that, or make it so it's only full auto or only semi-auto. That would still be better than the 3-round burst. The Blast Brawlers pretty much need something completely changed about them. They either need to be a completely defensive weapon or a completely offensive weapon with certain defensive aspects, because right now they're still not working. The thermal bore and the Bastion I have no problem with. They're pretty strong right now, and they hopefully will stay strong throughout. I think that's all I have to say about the new beta for Killing Floor. Hopefully you guys found this interesting or helpful. Tell me what your guys' thoughts are down in the comments below. It'll be really interesting to hear. And thank you guys so very much for watching this. I really do appreciate it. If you're new here, be sure that you get subscribed. That way you get notifications whenever I post any of these videos. If you'd like to support the channel in other ways, you can go down in the description. There's a link to my merch store as well as a link to my Patreon there. You can join over at Patreon for just $1 a month. And I hope you guys have a great day, and I will talk to all of you guys next time. Till then, stay cool and bye.